What is up, YouTube? This is Nanashi with yet another deck profile video, and this time we will be looking at my ice deck, which is really just glorified penguins with an Xyz system. But in all honesty, this deck has been incredibly fun to me for some time, but I haven't really done any modifications or alterations to it, and that's mostly because I haven't been able to find anything that I can really upgrade it with. That being said, I recently came across some new, old support cards that actually give the entire ice theme a whole new look and an interesting new feel. So let's see where this goes. Starting off, we have the Penguin Monster lineup, which is a pair of flying penguins, nothing really special, but it does enable a lot of the deck's main plays when comboed with the right spells. No Penguin, which is perfect in the graveyard, because if you activate a Penguin effect, this card comes from the graveyard to the field, 1 per turn. And as long as it's face up, any card effect that would return a card from the field to the hand by another Penguin's effect is banished instead. And speaking of, Nightmare Penguin, who boosts water monsters you control by 200 attack, and when flipped, returns a card your opponent controls to the hand. And I'd like to point out that this card actually does not target. That is a big detail with this card. It's one of the reasons I like it so much. And the 3 Great Emperor Penguin. This enables all of them to come to the field really quickly because, well, you tribute it, you get to summon any 2 penguins from the deck. And this actually enables No Penguin to get some more playability because No Penguin comes off of this card's effect as well. And then we get into the non-penguin monsters, of which there's only a few. Escher the Frost Vassal, who summons himself from your hand special if your opponent has 2 or more spell cards or spell or traps in their spell and trap zones. Sadly, this doesn't apply to field spells or pendulum spells, but you know what? This is fine, because more often than not, you have plenty of spell traps in your opponent's zones to worry about. Then we have the triple koa'ki Ice. I put this card over Cold Enchanter because, quite frankly, its effect is much more rewarding. You can discard a card to destroy a special summon monster on the field. Now, it has the standard koa'ki effect of revealing something in your hand or discarding a koa'ki Iron Core, or it self-destructs. This one's effect requires you to reveal a continuous spell. Now, at the moment, I don't have any continuous spells in this deck, so I have to make sure I use it quickly and get rid of it before it just dies on its own, and I almost always do. And I normally accelerate him and the others onto the field thanks to Tin Goldfish, who when normal summon specials a level 4 monster from your hand. Not exactly an ice card, I know, I'm too much of a theme purist, but the thing is, at the moment, this card is necessary. Next we move into the spell lineup, which is where a lot of the deck's power actually comes from. Double Diamond Core koa'ki Meru. You add a koa'ki Meru card from your deck to your hand, except itself, and if you banish it from your grave, your koa'ki Merus cannot be destroyed by any means this turn. So it saves koa'ki Meru Ice in the event that I don't reveal a continuous spell, which, as I mentioned, I don't have. Triple Instant Fusion. I have 2 fusion targets in the extra deck right now, so 3 is fine for what I needed to do. Plus, I get that Norden so quickly at this. Still running the double rank up Magic 7th one, and we all know why. The target is fairly obvious. Double Salvage. I tried going for 3, but it dead drew so badly because a lot of my targets are starting to get higher and higher attack points. Triple Transmodify. This is what makes Great Emperor Penguin come out so often. You target a monster you control and send it to the graveyard, and you get to special summon a monster with the same type and attribute, but 1 level higher. And since the vast majority of the 4 stars in this deck are Aquas, this card has a lot of playability. Usually I chain it off with Unexpected Die, who special summons a normal monster from my deck if I control no monsters, and normally that means I get my Flying Penguin out really quickly. And then we get into our trap lineup, which has become very minimal. 1 Bottomless, 2 Burst Rebirth. I'm debating on this card over a couple of other choices, but for right now, it works well enough. You pay 2,000 points, target a monster in your grave, and special summon it face down defense. That's mainly just to get the Nightmare Penguins that I basically accelerate into the graveyard thanks to the Penguin combos with the spells. And then Triple Call the Haunted because I want to make sure I get off those Nordens and that Great Emperor Penguin as often as I possibly can. Then we move right into the side deck, which is fairly straightforward. 3rd Flying Penguin, 3rd No Penguin, all 3 of the Penguin Soldiers, including that amazing little Orca, double Dark Hole, compulsory, double Fiendish Chain, and double Memory Loss. Honestly, these cards kind of slow the deck in the main, but if I ever need to put them in the main, I have them right here, and I have a multitude of options with just these 4 cards, because I'm noticing that monster effects are becoming the most detrimental things in the game. Especially with ABCs. Mirror Force, Torrential, and Vanities. And then finally, we finish up with the extra deck. We have 1 Deep Sea Shark and 1 Elder Entity Norden. We all know what Norden does. When you special it, you get to pull a monster from your grave of level 4 and lower, but negate its effects, and if this card leaves the field, that original target is banished. But Deep Sea Shark, that's mainly just to get on my rank 5 plays in the event that I have a Great Emperor Penguin, because as you saw, I only have a small number of penguins in the main deck right now. And that's for good reason, because the simple fact is, there's not a lot of main deck penguins that you can run that can really do much with the deck's current setup. But we also have the double Super Quantal Mech Beast Grand Pulse. It's the replacement for MST, I guess you could say, because that's exactly what it does. Detached, blow up a spell trap, and its other effects don't really matter because I don't have a Super Quantal monster in here. But with a 2800 defense at a rank 3, it's also a really good defense. I've been able to stall out pretty hard with this card. Also, double Hopewoven Dragon Spider Shark, a new monster I just put in here. Its effects are pretty good, in all honesty. You detach to decrease 1,000 attack points per your opponent's monsters whenever your monsters battle. Or when anyone's monsters battle, actually, it doesn't even matter. And if it gets destroyed, you get to pull back any other monster from your graveyard. So, it's yet another call to Haunted, essentially, to bring back that Great Emperor Penguin or Norden. It just redoes setups. Then you've got the triple Ragna Zero, which lets you detach a material during either player's turn once to destroy an opponent's monster whose attack is different than its original, and if you do, you get to draw a card. Pairs perfectly well with the Snowdust Giant, who lets you detach a material, reveal any number of water monsters in your hand, place ice counters on the field, and reduce non-water monsters' attack points by 200 per counter. This card on its own is actually fairly powerful, but it's really good in tandem with Ragna Zero. And in the event that I face off against a water deck, I can usually replace this with use of Spider Shark in its place, because it does make the decrease last until the end of the turn. So either way, Ragna Zero is really the MVP only because she has good backup. Then we get the Freezadon, who lets you detach a material off of it in place of another monster's effect. So it kind of helps, although more often than not, I just use it as a step up for the Frozen Lady Justice, who just upgrades off of a rank 5 by detaching a material, and it can blow up all opponent's defense position monsters by detaching a material from it. Its attack and defense are 500, but it gains 1,000 per material, so if I use a fully loaded Freezadon, it's not bad. But more often than not, if I need to, I'll just upgrade it off of Ragnafinity, who can only be summoned off of 7th one, but her effect lets you banish an opponent's monster who has different attack points from its original, and then the difference is dealt to your opponent as damage. It's not as good as Ragna Zero, but Ragnafinity does sometimes eliminate those annoying little cards that can't be destroyed by normal means. And if it goes to the graveyard while it has a material, it comes back. So it's kind of like a weaker version of 101. And that is the deck. Honestly, this deck is still seeing a little bit of modification because the numbers aren't fluctuating properly. I'm still getting some occasional dead hands, but more often than not, I can play through them thanks to koa'ki Ice, because his discard effect sets up my graveyard and gets rid of cards I can't use so incredibly well, I hardly ever have to worry about bad hands as much as I used to. And best of all, koa'ki Ice's effect is not just once per turn, so I can really just unleash a torrent of destruction and just keep pushing through with my Xyz summons. Now, like I said before, I'm not a huge fan of only having one true summoning method or one true mechanic for playing a deck, but this is the only mechanic that really works as the Xyz Reduction Destruction combo. That being said, with the new Fluffle Penguin coming out, I might be looking into putting infusions into this deck a little bit more, but that's still up in the air right now until I can see what else we're getting with the set. So, if anybody else has suggestions on how I can improve the deck, please let me know. But in the meantime, this has been Nanashi, signing out.